Nick, it feels like a full circle moment to have you on my podcast. Thanks for saying yes.
I'm excited to be here. I've enjoyed all the time we've spent together and looking forward to more.
I know, me too. I was preparing for this podcast thinking like, what do I want to ask Nick? And I was thinking back to when we first met. I think it was 2009 or 2010 at Ariel Ford's 21st Century Book Marketing. And if my memory serves me correctly, you were selling like some type of YouTube video type program at the time, helping people learn how to create videos. And today, I think I've lost count. Is it 22 or more Emmys?
22 for now.
22 for now. So, can you maybe just start by telling us a little bit about your journey from where you started to where you are today?
Yeah, and I learn a lot by looking back, and what I've realized. I'm actually working on my new book. The working title is Creativity Protects You, and I'm working through right now. And I've realized, by looking back and be able to connect dots in a way that I didn't as I was building the Lego castle. I didn't know what they meant, right? But it's really fun to look back. So, I'm from Barbados. My family's been there for 300 years. My dad's from a smaller island called St. Vincent, but we came as Welsh pirates in the 1600s. And so my parents and my aunts and uncles and a bunch of family moved up to Florida, the Orlando area, when I was just under a year old. My brother was about 3, and my cousins were older than us. But, my parents' mantra, if they said it once, they said it 10,000 times, you can do anything you want in life, you just got to get a profession. And so my brother and I were like, no, we're not going to do that. He was a great playwright in school. I was a musician, songwriter. He's now a child forensic psychiatrist, boarded in 5 specialties and teaches at Stanford. And that wasn't going to work for me. I went to law school, and I will say that it was amazing advice. I actually give it to my kids too. I think it opens a lot of doors. There's other ways to open doors, but it's definitely been really helpful for me. So I'm a creative guy who had to learn how to do business to afford to be creative. I just realized that maybe last year. I think I used to say I'm a business guy first, creative second. I'm like, well, you know what? That's not exactly right. I'm a creative guy first who had to learn how to make money so I could afford to be creative. And so the iteration of the business that you met me in was when I built that business with my long-term business partner and mentor, J.W. Dix. I met him when I was 15. We went into business together when I was 21. And if it was 2010-ish, I'd have been 30, 31, right? And so he had a really great skill set in personal branding and direct marketing, and I had learned a lot about media creation and sort of celebrity buzz building and PR. And so we combined those skills, wrote a book called Celebrity Branding You, and we built a business called the Celebrity Branding Agency, helping entrepreneurs build their businesses by becoming the best known in their industry. And so the cool part about that was that it was a really great outgrowth of both of our skill sets. Mm-hmm. And so, but I've always enjoyed working with the clients we have in that business, but it was always sort of also so I can do this. And so I did what every, creative person does, and you make some money, you go spend it doing the creative things you want to do, right? And so it was in 2010 actually that I made my first documentary, and then I won my first Emmy. And that's a funny story because I was not doing great in music. I was coming back from my 4th or 5th Grammys or whatever, still no nominations, no wins. This sucks. And I knew, because I was in the business of positioning people, and I knew what being positioned with awards could do for you. So I was like, I wonder what other awards I could win. And I Googled how to win an Emmy, and I followed the directions, right? But there's a lot to follow the directions well. But it was, I just sort of asked Google, how do I do this? And it worked out really well. I've now made more than 90 documentaries, 44 nominations, 22 wins.
Amazing.
And thank you. And it's really just been an outgrowth of, I've always loved people and their stories. I thought I hated learning because they made me do it in a desk for 8 hours a day, which is not my personality. I realized I love learning because I learn from the best in the world all day, every day. And so now I would say my business really operates around, our mutual friend Dan Sullivan, his concept of unique ability. Just really doing one thing better than anyone else, that, to the best of your ability, that you never want to stop doing, you never want to retire from. And of course, there's other things that get in the way. But my unique ability is having meaningful conversations that lead to produced outcomes. And so I do that on podcasts like this, that hopefully we have meaningful conversation that produces the outcome you and your listeners are looking for, whether it's inspiration or ideas or whatever else, or some practical knowledge. I do it behind the camera when I direct documentaries. I do it sort of in the boardroom, architecting things like the bourbon we're both involved in, the difference. So the best part about it for me is I'm still doing what I've always done. I'm just, I guess, able to do it at the highest level, and I no longer have to try to do more things that I'm good at, and I'm just trying to do less things, and I'm surrounded by literally the best people in the world in just about every field. So that's a bit of the journey there.
So I was listening to a podcast last week, and I forget who was being interviewed, but he said something about too many people believe the story in their head, and half the time the story in their head is not true, but they believe it to be true. And so when I think about your career and some of the people that you have worked with in the documentaries you've done, you have worked with a lot of famous people. And so I'm curious, how have you learned to deal with intimidation in the work that you do? And what has been your secret to building really strong relationships? Because you've built quite a few of them. And a lot of people, when they're around people of influence, people of power, people who are financially well off, they get tongue-tied, they get tripped up, they get nervous, they get awkward, and they don't know how to hang. So how have you figured out how to do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, what I say, and I actually talk about in my new book that I'm working on, we are the sum of the stories we believe about our past and our future. That's who we are right now. The sum of the stories we believe. And some of that, it's a second grade teacher living rent free. Some of it's in a past relationship. Some of it's someone, that's a real pain that you're dealing with right now, right? Or someone who cut you down or whatever. I would also say that, imposter syndrome gets a lot of publicity, gets a lot of press. And I think from my point of view, I think if there aren't times when you're feeling imposter syndrome, I'm not sure you're trying hard enough to elevate yourself, because that's just normal. There are rooms I go into that are just intimidating, as if whether I don't know enough people, or like it seems like everyone is a billionaire. Like there's just things that you get in your head about. It's funny, actually. I remember I was on the X Prize board with Peter Diamandis. The X Prize put the first private spaceship. Richard Branson bought it, became Virgin Galactic. And I ended up joining the board, and literally, I think everyone's a billionaire or like centimillionaires. Like it was ridiculous, and I was nowhere near that. And I actually used to bring it up all the time, like I'm the brokest one here. And what I realized is, like, the same way before I turned 40, I'm 45 now, and I used to think, being the youngest one in the room, like no one cared. Like, and still no one cares. Like, if you can serve me in a way and I can serve you, like, age doesn't matter, wealth doesn't matter. So, like, I think these are the things that we get in our own heads about. And I think a lot of that is from my own, clearly from my own headspace, from the stories I believe about my own past and my parents being immigrants and we struggled and all those things, right? But that's not, for the most part, I think you got to ask yourself, like, well, what are the people in this room here to do? And does my personal wealth have anything to do with it? No. Does my age have anything to do with it? Most of the time, no. Right? So that's one of the ways where I started to try to get out of that head noise. Also, I'm no longer enamored by celebrity. But I'm fascinated by people who are so good at what they do, the world can't ignore them. And that's how I like to approach it, because the people who I get to, like, I just interviewed Bruce Springsteen 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This in the last 12 months, I'd have to double check it's 12 months, but close to that. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews, but I've interviewed Dolly Parton, Bruce Springsteen, and Keith Richards, Kris Jenner. I could go, but like, I'm not sure those names are about as big as you can get in many realms, right? And thankfully, because of the projects I'm working on, they treat me like a friend, because I was introduced to them from a friend, and they agreed to do the documentary. We didn't have to pay them, and so I get treated like a friend. So really, my job is to show up and create space for people to share what they want to share. And by the way, that makes them happy, even if they're sharing something that is painful for them. Like they cathartically want to share. I'll give you another example. I'm a songwriter. I've been writing since I was 15 or 16. I can't remember now. I'm getting too old, but started playing guitar at 6. I'm currently ranked in the top 5% of songwriters in the world, which, don't be jealous. I can almost afford like a 2-day getaway with my family with the royalties I make. But it was just a process I've always loved. And when I first started writing, I wrote in my bedroom by myself, like every teenager does. My angsty songs, whatever, right, about girls not liking me or things not going right or whatever it was, right. And then I eventually made my way to Nashville, which I spend the most time writing there now. And I had a mentor there who I befriended, and he was in his 70s. He had over 300 album cuts. He'd had multiple number ones. I mean, Dolly Parton, Randy Travis, Travis Tritt, like just big hits.
All the names.
Yeah, all the names, right? And he said, Nick, I want you to come into a co-write with me and some of my buddies. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he said, but the story's valid. He said, I believe you're talented, or I wouldn't ask you to do it. I see you've got drive. I see you've got talent. He goes, and come with your ideas. Like, that's like, nobody wants a dead weight in the room. Because the way Nashville songwriting works, if you write every word or no words, all the music, no music, if the two of us are in the room, 50-50. If 3 of us are in the room, it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. If there's 4 of us, it's 25, 25, 20. There's no haggling over. It's just you. There's a trust level that gets you invited in the room that you're worth that percentage. That's the way it works. And if you don't pull your weight, don't get invited back, right? And so he said, the one thing I want you to really think about, though, he said, so come with ideas. He goes, but I don't want you to fight for your idea. I want you to fight for the best song in the room that day. And it really taught me that, I need to come prepared. I need to come, but most I need to come open to like a collaboration. Like, hopefully this conversation you and I are going to have, because we both came ready to have the conversation that's supposed to be had today. This conversation will never happen again, and it would never happen without the two of us in the room. Mm-hmm. And so I now bring that to my interviews. I don't like preparation. It's not, but I realize it's necessary at times. So I actually outsource my preparation for my interviews. My writer will write me, typically if it's a feature interview, like a 2,000-word article, like this person was going to be featured on Forbes this month or Fortune or name the magazine. And it's like all the stuff where they came from, sort of what they're working on now. And I have a framework that I'll never get stuck or not have something to talk about. But the beauty of that I have found is I read that about 15 minutes before my interview. And that's it.
And then you're set.
And then I'm ready to have a conversation. And when I'm ready to, and when I'm ready to have the conversation they want to have, I have Larry King on camera saying, "Hey, I've never said this on camera before." I'm like, "Well, why are you telling me? I didn't say it." But you create space for other people to share what they want to share. And most of the time, it's way more interesting than what you thought, because everybody knows this stuff and nobody knows the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I don't. There's egos sometimes. Thankfully, they're usually not bad. The worst part is typically like when people have like a lot of handlers or they want their 7-person PR team to sit in on the interview. You're like, well, this doesn't feel very intimate, because to me, I enjoy intimacy in relationships, right? And so, I have learned to prepare to have the best conversation they want to have that day, because it doesn't matter what I want to get. If they don't want to talk about it, they're not going to talk about it, or they're going to be rude, or they're going to be. So I've just sort of created a process and created space for it. And I just when I was interviewing Springsteen a couple weeks ago, I wasn't nervous to interview Bruce Springsteen, but I knew I was only going to get one shot at it. And so I was like, I want to make sure nothing went wrong. Right. So if I'm honest, between me and the crew, there's palpable tension while we were waiting for him, because we all want to make sure we get everything we need. We're in and out. We don't, it's a well-oiled machine. And pretty much everyone to a T after they finish working with us are like, that's it? That's all you need? They're like, yeah. They're like, oh, that was easy. I'm like, well, it's supposed to be, And so, I don't know, hopefully I answered your question, but those are a couple of my strategies there.
Yeah. You don't want to be over prepared, but you don't want to be under prepared, and you want to be respectful of their time. You don't want to force an outcome. You want the right outcome to kind of present itself. That's what I'm hearing from you. Yeah.
And I think, to me, I learned it from my parents. I practice it in my faith, but I think that, I treat it like any situation, whether I'm going to work in an elementary school and volunteer and ask questions, or and answer questions, or I'm going to teach a college class, or I'm doing a pod. I'm here to serve, and so that's how me and my crew show up. Like
Right.
you've got to be world class. Like that's like table stakes. On
Right.
top of that is the attitude that you bring to the space. And you've met my crew; they're all incredible human beings that could do a million different things. But we basically meet up somewhere in the world once a week, and and they're amazing humans. So no one's ever uncomfortable. Everyone's always thrilled. I mean, quite frankly, most of my clients, I think they just hire me over and over again because they like when the circus comes to town. Like, here we come. We're coming back to party. Let's go. And so, it's a blessing working with people who are that talented and just great people.
Okay, so let's shift the conversation a little bit, because it's like you are on two ends of the spectrum. You help entrepreneurs and experts celebritize their brands, and you've worked with some of the most famous people in the world. So when you think about entrepreneurs and experts who want to celebritize their brands, or small business owners, we have a lot of business owners that are listening to this podcast. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people make that prevents them from really stepping into their greatness? So we talked a little bit about imposter syndrome, but what else gets in the way of people really kind of leaning into their personal brand and being uniquely who they are?
Well, the good news about this part is most people are not, narcissistic egomaniacs. Most
Right.
people. Some are, and we all run into those, right? But so the thing about it is our greatest gifts and our greatest knowledge, we basically don't value.
Right.
Because that's not special. I know that, right? So, there's
Right. It's
no
like
big
fish
deal.
in water. It's like
Exactly.
you think, oh, everybody knows that. And like the thing that I know in my own business, I'm like, wow, just because this is easy for me doesn't mean that it isn't valuable for someone else.
It is. And so typically people they are so shy because they actually don't have any concept of how they could teach someone something significant, right? And so the way I like to, and look, we all have, I mean, I'm preaching myself here too, right? These are normal human hangups, right?
Right.
So it's funny when I tell people when they start sharing their knowledge, just start from the beginning. Like share that. Like, it's like if you go get tennis lessons or something, they're going to start from like the most basic stance, how you hold your racket. The most successful college basketball coach in history, John Wooden, used to start every first practice by showing his players how to put on their socks. Because he said, if you put on your socks correctly, you're not going to get blisters. If you don't, you're going to get blisters. And then ultimately when I need you, I might not have you. Right. So start with the basics. And one, I love to tell this story because it's such a great example of the basics. Like I got maybe 5 years ago now, I got a big green egg. Right, it's a cooking device. It's a Kamado grill. Right, there's several of them in different brands. But I got a big green egg because I want to learn how to cook stuff over charcoal and to smoke stuff and all this stuff. And literally, the first thing I had to do was to go on YouTube and look up how to light a big green egg. Because it is the most basic, other than assembling the thing, which I paid someone to do for me. Like, I don't know where to begin, and I didn't really have anyone. I felt. There's people around me I probably could have asked them, this is so ridiculous. I think, aren't you just supposed to know this? But no, you're not. If no one taught you that, you're not supposed to know it. So when the fun part about sharing your knowledge and your wisdom is, first of all, if something inspires you, share that. Because it's, when you talk about something I've learned, like that songwriting story, prepare to write the best song in the room that day, translates really well to prepare to have the best conversation in the room that day with your clients, with your family, it's just great. It's inspiring advice. So I'm inspired to share that. But if you don't know where to begin, if you just start from the very beginning, it'll be helpful. My cousin just started she was a personal trainer for like 25 years, and she's just done with it. She's just tired. She's still super fit, and she's like, I just sort of want something different. She started working for a personal lines insurance carrier, and we were talking the other day, and she was just like, man, I just learned this, and then I'm like, I know, like, I wouldn't want to do it either. It's not my personality. I'm like, but you should really start like a TikTok channel, like, and just share these bizarre things you're learning that everyone wants to know about insurance, but you're like, no one ever tells you. Like, should I really claim, like she was saying, in Florida, we have this rule basically that if your windshield shatters, your insurance company has to pay it. They have to replace it. I don't even think there's a deductible. She said, and they don't count it against you. But if you have but they do keep track of it. And so if you have that and like a no fault collision or something, then they'll cancel you. It's like, but it's these basic things that I'm sure a broker who's been in the business for 20 years doesn't even think about it. It's such secondhand knowledge to them. Just like, why would you even talk about that? But when we're trying to learn something, we're on a spectrum. We may know a little bit, we may know a lot. So if you don't know where to begin, start from the beginning. And so I think most people don't ever do that, and they just keep being more and more intimidated, like, where would I begin? Because the more your expertise grows, it's even harder to figure out where to begin, right? Because you're getting to a level where there's not that many people who know this type of stuff. So you're trying to figure out, what could I tell someone like me that I don't even know yet, is really the question you're trying to answer. So I've always found, I tell people, look, start with your own experience. I mean, that's the wisdom God gave you. He gave you those set of circumstances and those things. And as you walk through your life story and the things that you've learned, if you do it enough, you'll start to realize what people are leaning in on. Like I realized when I talk about how I limit my travel for my family, like now I get asked about that almost every interview. And it's like, I didn't think anyone cared. It was just my coping mechanism for not being a bad dad or a bad husband, but still trying to earn for the family, right? And so you got to start from the beginning, and whatever your greatest gifts are, you rarely value. And so you need to learn to not worry about that and just to start sharing what you know and seeing what resonates with an audience. Start from the beginning, or with something that inspires you. And then, and also our greatest gifts, we just don't value them because we were born with them. So we think everyone can do it, and that you don't understand why they can't. And so you don't value it at all. And there's a lot, if you start thinking through your processes and what you do that makes it work, even though you don't think it's special, other people have no idea how it works. So start from the beginning there too.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Yeah. What about the comparison gene? So what I see happening is a lot of people, they want to create this magical brand online. They want to really step into their expertise and provide value. But then they look around and they see other people out there and they go, well, Chris Voss is at the height of his game and he is the most masterful negotiator in the world. How am I ever going to compete? And so they diminish themselves because they are comparing to what other people have done that are 10, 20, 100 steps ahead of them. What do you tell those people?
Obviously, being self-aware is a great skill, right? I think that's one of the most important skill sets in life. On top of that, though, I think, look, let's say you're a negotiation coach, for instance, and most of these people that you would be talking about hiring you, they're never going to get to talk to Chris Voss. So Don't even worry about it. Obviously, most of these people would probably not have anywhere near the same background Chris Voss has. And so it's, my friend Sally Hogg said, I don't know if you've read any of her books, but
yeah, I know Sally.
I love her quote, different is better than better.
Me too.
And it's like, so I would really be thinking about what makes me different? Because being better, look, in your example, being a better negotiator than Chris Voss, probably really tough to do. But how can I be different? Maybe I only maybe specialize on, how to negotiate, intense family business situations or new car loans, whatever it is, mortgages, I don't know. But what can you do that sets you apart? And it's actually been really fun because, both of us knowing Chris well, and I'm having done a lot of work with Chris the last few years. Through him, I've met a lot of other people who are, who teach negotiation, and they're all different, and they all, they usually come in intimidated by Chris, and they usually leave collaborating with him, right? Because everything is not a competition. And when we really lean into the things that we do, I mean, everyone heard me say it earlier, my unique ability is pretty esoteric if you boil it down. It's I have meaningful conversations that lead to produced outcomes. What does that mean? Well, what do we want to mean today? It's just, that's my skill set where I'm going to provide the most value. Okay. But I don't know anybody else who I'm competing with when I do that. So I think a lot of it is really trying to break it down to, at the heart of it. So any sort of business is people say, oh, he's really good at business or whatever. A really good business person. Great. Well, that's like 1,000 different micro skills, probably more, right? And so for the most part, most of us aren't world class at a lot of things. So how do we figure out what are the micro skills, the things that when I do those things, they actually move the needle? And those are the things I would highly encourage you to start thinking about and start sharing, because it's common sense to you, but it's not common knowledge to others.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And I think that a lot of people don't necessarily spend the thinking time to figure out what makes them different. And if you actually spend the time, if we go back to the previous question where you said start from the beginning. If you actually journal and write about, even in chronological order, how your experience has been shaped throughout your life, you're going to start to see those nuances that are different. I remember when I first started doing work in the strategy and marketing space, someone said to me, I've never met anyone like you before, because you understand retail, you understand strategy and marketing, and you understand consumer behavior on a mobile device. And so because you understand all three of those things, because of my history working for a telecommunications company for so long, it's like you have a different perspective. At the time, I was doing a lot of work with shopping centers and how to drive traffic into the mall using social media marketing. And I never really realized that I had like this, three-pronged approach going on that was different from other people. So I think going and looking at the different pathways that you've been on, and even the things that people have said to you, is something that is helpful for people to do. But most people won't sit down with a pen and piece of paper and really think about it.
They won't. And, that's like, I'm bad at that too, but I love doing it through conversation with someone. And so, Dan Sullivan again talks about thinking about your thinking. Like, it's one of the most valuable things you can do. But to me, I love workshopping that with my peers, people like you, where I'm like, let's wrestle with this for a little bit. And I usually, every time we do that, we get a little bit more clear on nuances and distinctions. And then, we're able to have, that's where conversation gets interesting. And when iron sharpens iron like that, and you go out into the next setting you're in, you can pull the gems from that because you just spent the time mining them.
Yeah.
So if you're a person, like I have many friends who like to go and think about something on their own. If you saw inside my brain when I was alone, you probably think I was adult. But I do my best thinking. I mean, I have sort of crazy ideas here and there, but I do my best thinking in conversation with and in collaboration with others. And so that's what I choose to spend most of my day doing is working in conversation with my team, with my clients, with everybody else. And so find what works for you, but those things, but work. There's no substitute for doing the work there. It's the 10,000 hour thing. You will, at the end of however many hours, you will know way more than you did at the beginning. And that's, quite frankly, that's the fun of the discovery of life. But if you take the time, I was really bad at taking the time to write down these distinctions. I've gotten way better recently. I have this magical device I carry around all the time that lets me store stuff in it. And so I've just gotten less lazy about it. And so now, if I think about somebody I need to reach out to, or if I think about something I need to follow up on, like I just have Evernote notebooks now. And it's like, or if I have a project coming up that I can't talk about yet, and I think someone might want to hear about it when I can, I'm like, I just started keeping lists because it's so basic, but I know my brain's never going to remember all of these people and things if I won't keep track of them. So I'm now starting to do that same thing with ideas, so that when I started working on this book, it wasn't like, I don't know what to talk about. It's like, well, here's the things, that 10 people want to talk to me about every time I'm around.
Right. When are you planning to finish the book?
I think the book will be done in the next month. When will it be out is always a fun question, depending on which route we go for publishing or whatever else. But I'm hopeful it'll be out in 26 is my hope.
Cool. Awesome. We'll have to have you back on the show to talk about the book.
I love it.
I want to read the book. All right. So one of the things that you told me at one point that really stuck in my mind, there's two things that you have said to me that stuck in my mind, actually three. But the first one is you work with the best in the world at what they do. And so I'm curious how you got to this place in your career, and what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way to lean into this distinction?
It's a great question. I learned, I think, from when I was making music myself. You know, you can see I've got guitars behind me. I can play guitar. I can learn to play just about, I mean, I'd say just about anything. Not like the most complicated virtuoso stuff in the world, but like, you know, I can learn John Mayer licks, and I can play acoustic finger pick and stuff, like all that, right? And but when I was making records, and I was songwriting in college, and I would make stuff for me, and then I realized, you know what? I can sing, and I had gigs out and stuff, but like, I hadn't found. Well, I didn't think I had a good enough voice that I was going to fill arenas. Let's say that. I think now, from what I actually know, is that you don't have to be the best singer. You have to be unique. You have to find a unique voice that resonates with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I'm like really still. I'm known for finding just exceptional voices, and I just didn't have one of those. And it's like, all right, well, so I could write for other people who have exceptional voices. Like, I would love to hear my song come out of that woman's mouth or whatever, right? And then when I started producing the records, like, I can play guitar, but some of my friends, like, they just ooze music. Like, I could give them a pen and a phone, and they do this, and you're like, oh my God, that's the best sounding thing I've ever heard. It's just ridiculous. And so I just learned through self-awareness, like, wow, I could make something, I could hold on really tight and try to make something all by myself. And there's times you want to do that just to learn, right? Like when I'm cooking or something, like I just, you know, on the green egg or my pizza oven, like I want to do this artisanal craft, damn it, from the beginning. And then I've learned, like, you know, making your own dough is not hard, but like I can go down the street to the best pizza place in town that sells 7-day fermented Neapolitan doughs for $5 a dough. So I can spend 8 days of my life trying to make this, or I could just spend the $5. So, you know, at some point you just decide where you want to go. So there's times when you should just workshop and learn your craft and just get better at it. And then, but I would say in most instances, particularly in my experience, most commercial business instances, actually, even when creating art, like, why wouldn't you just try to figure out what your place in the band is, mm-hmm. or what your place in the company is, or what your place in the, you know, even like my favorite thing about my team that works with me at my businesses is like, I follow Jeff Bezos' principle: never hire someone you don't admire, right? And so I admire everyone who works for me because I can't do what they do.
Right.
I mean, my editors, my accountants, that would drive me crazy. There's literally people who wake up every day who can't wait to make a balance sheet work. That is not me. So like, why don't I just try to find the best one I can afford, right? And so it starts out with the best one you can afford, or what kind of value can I bring to them? Because a lot of times these guys would play for free on my records that I was working on, and I would manage their band. Or you know, like you can. Money is in many cases the worst currency in the world, because there's a 1-for-1 value, right? There's so many other ways to be creative. Like, you know, most of my things that I work on, I promise people ROE, return on experience, because I cannot promise you an ROI because I don't know what you're going to even do with the knowledge I give you or whatever else, right? And I can't control the world, but I can promise you a return on experience, which has a value that you know, we've done some things together that other people just can't do.
Right.
And so there's a massive value in that if you learn how to articulate the value. So I started working with people better than me because it was more rewarding. And then, you know, the more you work in any field, I think, I mean, just from my point of view, I guess I've been sort of a talent scout my entire life, and that's gone from like music to film to even just business. And so I'm just constantly looking for like people who, as Dan Sullivan again would say, batteries included, people who come like lit up about this thing and they like won't shut up about it, basically. Like my cinematographers like wake up in the morning and can't wait to put a shot together. I'm like, I don't really care about it. Like, I want it to look great, but I'm not restless in my bed about it. Yeah. Whereas I am restless in my bed about, like, I'm trying to get a yes to tell this story that I've been working on for 5 years right now. And I will wrestle in bed with it. Like, how do I, like, I don't know why the people around them are not getting it. Like, what do I need to do to make sure they get it so that we don't both miss the opportunity to share the story. You know, this person's 90 years old and they're an icon. And it's like, there's not a whole lot more time, you know? And
Right.
so that drives me. The relational side, the how do I get to create this? How can I put this together and make it better than anything else? And then the people around me, I've just, I've learned, and there's a thing with creative people too, and I hate it that, oh, you just got to put up with a lot of quirks or a lot of bad business decisions or a lot of bad habits with really creative people. Well, I don't. I can't. No, ain't nobody got time for that, as they say, right? I mean, you have to be dialed in and the best. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it progressively. Then you meet someone who blows you away, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, that person would add to our team. And so I just sort of collect good people around me, and I try to bring value to them, and they bring massive value to me.
I love that. It sounds to me like you're really self-aware of what you're good at versus what you're not great at. And you don't beat yourself up for not being good at something. Instead, you look for somebody who's great at something. But I think you also apply that to the people that your clients, the people you do business with. I think you also are seeking out the opportunity to tell the story of some of the best in the world, like the people who are the best at what they do as well.
Yeah, always. And I think it's a really important thing. I think it's not encouraged nearly enough, like that you shouldn't beat yourself up about things you're not good at. I mean, there's certain things that are hard that are good practice, right? Like I typically run 5 miles every day, or I run 3 and I lift. Like I enjoy it in its own sense, but like it's hard, right? Like lifting heavier weights is hard. And that's good. Like that's just a decision you make. I'm gonna, this is the life I want to live. I want to be healthy. I want all the things. But there's many other things you're like, oh, you should just acknowledge you're not good at that and maybe never do it ever again. And one thing that drives me crazy about, I don't know if it's the school system, society, whatever, but that's not, again, in writing this book, I've realized how many coping mechanisms I've created over the course of my life just so that I could function normally. And then when I really go back and look at it, like how many times I was made to feel guilty about, like, I can only hyper focus on something, right? For like if you see me study, and my wife, we were married when I was in law school, like I can study maybe 15 minutes at a time. And then I need like a 10-minute break. But I would do that, and my wife's like, I don't know how you do anything. I have friends over, and she'd be like, you're distracting them. She'd take my laptop away. She, all the things, and they would study for like 8 more days than me. We might get the same grade. I might get a better grade, but like I could just only hyper focus for that amount of time. And I was taught my entire life, like, you need to go back and check your work, Nick. And then I would change it and it'd be wrong because all of a sudden the teacher did not plan for Nick to finish his test in 17 minutes. We have a whole hour. So Nick needs to go back and check his work. And I know if we all go back through our lives, there are these things we realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I actually have negative feelings about certain things about myself because of the way I was forced to deal with them. And so I would highly encourage everyone listening to go down that path. I mean, Dan Sullivan, we mentioned like 5 times, so I might as well keep mentioning, but he's got some great books, and his whole concept of unique ability has been such a life changer for me that I highly encourage people to chase that down, because when you are operating within your unique ability, it's one of the most rewarding things because you bring such massive value to other people. You'll be shocked at how much massive value they bring to you, right? I know, Lisa, you're a welcome guest at everything you go to. You get invited to do things other people don't get invited to do because you're operating your unique ability and you're bringing massive value to people in their world. They want to thank you for it. So they extend invitations and other things that you wouldn't get if you weren't operating your unique ability and providing massive value for them.
All right. I have like 3 more questions, but I want to be respectful of your time. And we are
Okay.
Are you good for a couple more minutes?
I am.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So my next question is, how do you see AI impacting your business? I'm curious as to your philosophies on what to do and what not to do in this AI obsessed era we are moving into.
Yeah, AI is obviously affecting everything. I don't think it is a cure-all. I think we're in it's in its infancy, which is interesting. If you aren't playing with it regularly, you're definitely behind. If you're using it for everything, I think you're probably overusing it.
I would agree.
We've been able to use it in some really cool ways. For instance, our mutual friend Giovanni Marsico and I made a film called Hero about these 4 amazing people. and how they were how they became the hero of their own lives, and it inspires other people to realize that no one else is coming to save you. It's about your own skills and your own experiences. And so, like in those instances, we didn't have archival footage of these people as kids, and sticking on talking heads in documentary forever is boring. So we took this is early stages of like Mid-Journey, and we used it to create a comic book themed version of each of these four people, and we were able to help create comic book style quality images that look like these people that we could use in different segments of the film. To me, that was like, oh, that's a really cool use of it, because I'm able to, it can help me be more effective. It's not replacing what I'm doing. It can help me be more effective.
You're adding it. You're adding it.
Exactly. And so like, I've had some people try to tell me, some of my friends do, and they're just joking, and I love it. But like, hey, I wrote this song. I'm like, well, what'd you do? Oh, well, ChatGPT wrote the lyrics, and Suno AI made the song. I'm like, that's not songwriting. Like,
Right.
okay, whatever. But like for me, I am a songwriter, and we work on all the lyrics and all the melody together. Well, AI at this point right now is good enough. I can feed in what we call a work tape. So when we write the song, we typically write 2 songs a day, like 11 a.m., 3 p.m. ish. And when you're done with that song, if you don't record it right then, you're never going to remember that song ever again the rest of your life, because it's just what you came up with in those 2-3 hours. And sometimes those are #1 hits. And so you record it on your iPhone. Everyone's got an iPhone, or you just someone plays it, everyone sings it, whatever. With AI right now, I can feed that work tape in, and I can tell it how I want to style it. And it will create me like a full master quality record with my melodies and my lyrics in a style that I cannot sing or play. Like that. Now, I'm not releasing that music. It'll be interesting to see at some point, is that, I hate the idea right now. Does it become a different category of music? I don't know. Probably. But for me, when I'm trying to make sure that a producer, like I'm writing for a really big record right now, and I'm putting songs in for submission, and I can use AI to help the producer hear what I hear, so I don't have to wonder if they're hearing what I hear.
Right.
I can make sure they hear it. Or I can go spend $3,000 on a demo of it, which sort of sucks for the demo players, that might become a little less normal. We also, in documentaries, we do recreations, right? So I'm working on a documentary about a big TV personality right now. And so we don't have footage of her in her teens, let's say. So we can recreate that stuff, but it's expensive to do. Well, with Google's new VO3,
Yeah.
I mean, we're still waiting to hear what the rules are on using some of that. But I was talking to a friend the other day whose entire business the last 5 or 6 years has been doing recreations for true crime series. He's like, oh, that's going to go first. Like, he's like, and I understand why, because it's not the story. It's a value add. It's just a way to help tell the story better. So I don't know what it's going to do. I had a friend send me an AI written script for a TV series the other day. I'm like, I don't even want to touch that. Like, maybe there's a place for it. Maybe at some point you just have AI create a script, and then you have AI direct the movie. But then maybe I shouldn't watch that. Maybe my AI should. I don't know. Like, I'm not like, so I think AI is going to allow us to be more human, is what I really think. I think it's going to allow us to do the things, like there's a great argument that, I mean, any of these will, I haven't thought them all the way through, but look, there's like, do I need to do addition ever again? I don't know. I mean, there's times when it's important, but like rote tasks, like should anyone ever have to mow a lawn ever again? Probably not. I mean, it's like that. I'm glad that people make a living doing that, or cleaning pools or whatever. But like, is that the highest and best use? Like, it gets really interesting when you start talking about like universal basic income, and I don't know what to do with that. But like, I would argue that, I mean, rather than mowing a lawn, it'd probably be much better. That time would be much better spent on a Saturday going to your kid's baseball game.
Right.
But if you can't, you got to mow the lawn. You got to mow the lawn. So I'm hopeful that, like, I think like a great example, I think like the best bartenders and best waiters in the world might be the highest like compensated people.
Right.
Because we crave like amazing human interaction, and we can get rid of the really bad guy at McDonald's who's like, basically looks at you like you're the idiot when you're just trying to say, I just want ketchup for my kid and not mustard and pickles and onions, right? So what is it going to do to our industry? Look, Pixar's been making movies without people in them for a long time. Now they've used voiceover and stuff like that. I think it's a revolution in allowing more people a seat at the table, much like the internet allowed everyone to market to the world. But how many websites do each of us really care about? Not that many. And so I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see how it can make what I do better. I, of course, don't want it to replace me. But I think I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hopeful it allows us all to operate within our unique abilities even more.
All right. To wrap up, I have 2 questions. One, which documentary that you've done had the biggest impact on your life? And what is something about you that most people don't know?
Ooh. Well, most people don't know that I have a miniature donkey. I have
Seriously?
I have 20 acres outside of Orlando that I like to hunt and fish at, and spend some time there with my family. And so we have a mini donkey. His name is DJ, Donkey Jr. It's DJ for short. So that's something most people don't know about me. And then, what was your other question?
What documentary
Oh, yeah.
changed you? Like what documentary had the most profound impact on you and changed you in some way?
So there's a couple of answers there. Like my very first documentary, you can still see it online. It's called Jacob's Turn. It was a 7-minute short about a little boy with Down syndrome who played t-ball in a little town called Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. And that had such a profound impact on me because it was my first one. I got 2 Emmy nominations. I won an Emmy, but I just knew I could do it. Like, first of all, I was able to create something that moved people to donate money and do all sorts of things. And 7 minutes is short, but it's actually, you will cry in the 7 minutes. Like I can do deep storytelling. So it was like, oh, maybe I could do this. And then of course, winning an Emmy didn't hurt at all. That did change my life. I would say from a perspective point of view, my first documentary I did on anti-human trafficking stuff called Operation Toussaint, where we did a raid in Haiti with former Navy SEALs and Haitian Special Forces. It allowed me to see something that I just would have never known really existed or how it existed and how it happened. So since then I've done, I think, 12 docs on anti-human trafficking all around the world in Haiti, Colombia, Iraq, Mexico. And then one of my latest films I did in America because everyone was saying, oh my gosh, it's so sad what's happening in those countries. And I literally said, oh, you don't understand. It's happening right here. So many times we made a doc called It's Happening Right Here. And it's just sort of crazy how kids are getting, sextorted on TikTok and Roblox and other things because other human beings are just taking advantage of the situation. So,
yeah, that can't help but be something that has a profound impact, especially with you being a father.
Yes, and again, I'm doing. So I did my first documentary on anti-trafficking. It started in late 2017, early 2018. So, and so my kids, were, what was that, 7 years ago? Yeah, so I had a 6-year-old. I had a 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. So I was in the thick of all of that. So yes. And it's been super helpful to be able to share that with people, what I've learned. So that had a massive impact. And I always said I would never do documentaries on negative things. But I realized that just because it's a negative thing doesn't mean it can't have hope. And you can't bring hope to the conversation. So it taught me a lot about that. And now I've obviously done, some pretty tough subjects.
It's awesome. Thank you, Nick, so much for being here and for sharing. I feel like this could have been a 3-hour conversation, but I won't go all Tim Ferriss on you.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Hopefully we landed the plane enough times people get something out of it.
I'm sure we did. And I will be sure to link to all the places that people can find you in the show notes. And thanks so much for listening. I think there's lots of great insights and nuggets that Nick has shared. And I think, one is begin at the beginning. And don't listen to the stories in your head that tell you that you're not good enough. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thanks for having me.